Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about the Elac DBR-62 bookshelf speakers. This is a special review for me because of how I ended up with these. These are not a review sample that a manufacturer sent me, nor did I buy them with my own cold hard cash. One of the subscribers to my YouTube channel actually let me borrow these. They're his personal speakers, and I'll be honest guys, when I started this channel, I never thought something like that would happen. Very gracious of him, and a special thank you for that. So I'm going to take you through them from top to bottom like I normally do, some sound impressions, what I think about them, some pros, cons, and then we're going to wrap it up. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to compare these to because I haven't heard a lot of $600 speakers. Now, I've heard a lot of $800, $900 speakers, a lot of $1,000 speakers. I've heard a lot of $200 and $300 and $400 speakers, but I have not heard many $600 speakers, so it kind of is what it is. Sorry, guys. So let's start at the top. We've got a 1-inch tweeter and a waveguide, and I'll be honest, like I like this touch here. This, I don't know if that's like just a grill for aesthetics, if it's like, I guess it wouldn't be like a phase plug because it's not sitting on the tweeter directly, but whatever it is, aesthetically, I like it. We got a 6.5-inch aramid fiber midwoofer. And if you're like me and you're like, looks like carbon fiber, what the hell's the difference? I Googled it and I have the answer for you. Carbon fiber and aramid fiber are really similar, except carbon fiber is a little bit brittle, so it's not ideal for a cone material, whereas aramid fiber is not brittle. Anyways, what else do we have here? The frequency response is 44 hertz to 35 kilohertz. The sensitivity is 86 decibels. They are 6 ohm speakers and can handle up to 120 watts. The height is 14 inches, 8 inches wide and 11 inches deep. The cabinet is made of MDF and they are a hefty 18 pounds per speaker. Now, since we're, about the weight here, that really does speak to the quality of these as far as like construction and build. These are what I would consider well built. When I was handling them, picking them up, putting them on the stands, doing the good old knock test, whatever, they feel substantial. I really like that. They come in 2 color options. You have a black walnut, as you can see here, and a white oak up on the screen. Either color is $599. And guys, let's not kid ourselves. This is a vinyl finish and it shows in person. It does not look real whatsoever. Anyway, so let's get into the treble. We've got a slight up tilt in the top end. It's not tilted up enough that I would call it bright by any means. I never had any fatigue listening to these. For me, this was actually the perfect amount of top end information. I wouldn't call these necessarily harsh or smooth, although if I had to pick one, they're just the tiniest bit on the smoother side. But if a song is naturally on the sharper side, these will convey that. If the song is smoother, it's going to be on the smoother side. So it's going to depend on your content a little more, I would say. And I found that to be true whether I was using a cheap amp like the Iota VX SA3, that's $525, or my Kinky Studio pre and monoblock power amps, which is closer to $6,000. I'll be honest, everything in this review that I say was true whether I was using the cheaper amp or the more expensive amp. So if you've got budget gear, you're in good hands with these speakers, honestly. What else do we have here? Lots of detail, and good imaging to boot. This was some of the best imaging I've had in this room, I'm not gonna lie. That was one of the things I just kept playing like all the songs that I love so much, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I don't know if that's because of like the design or my room or the synergy, you know what I mean? But I watched Sean's review on these from Zero Fidelity, and he said slight toe-in gives excellent imaging. I followed the advice. I did slight toe-in, and I do mean slight. And oh boy, was he right. Really, really good imaging, guys. What else do we have here? Mid-range. For once, I actually have a lot to say about mid-range because the mid-range on these was really good. We had great separation, texture, and detail. That means if you're listening to a song with a female vocal and there's like some breathiness to it, you're hearing that. If her voice is a little bit scratchy, you're hearing that. The detail in the female vocal region was so good. It was some of the best I've heard in this room. Again, honestly, like a few of the listening impressions of this speaker is like the best I've heard in this room. Now, am I saying it's like the best speaker I've ever heard in this room from top to bottom? No, just in these few categories, right? So what else do we have here? Excellent vocal imaging. I already talked about that when I talked about the top end. It's a touch warm, but not lush necessarily, right? Like it's not warm enough that I would call it a warm speaker, but if I had to like pick one, yeah, it's a little bit on the warm side of neutral in the mid-range, also on the bass, by the way. And like I said, some of the best mid-range I've heard in this room. So bass, The mid bass is going to be slightly exaggerated with a well-defined edge to it. So there's like a distinction in the mid bass frequencies. Unfortunately, that same distinction does not carry down to the lower bass frequencies, and the lower bass frequencies are, there's just not a whole lot of it there. There's kind of no other way to say it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like these fall off a cliff below 60 hertz. It does have bass, you know, in that like 40 to 50 hertz region. There's just the quantity is low, but strangely, what you do here is very, very, very satisfying from a tonal perspective. Among the most satisfying I've heard, like that like low bass punch. I just wish there was more of it. You absolutely need a subwoofer with these, and I couldn't help but think for the size, I should have been getting more low end punch. What else do we have? Let's see here. Average speed, distinction, and articulation. And like I said, the low end punch is weak, but very satisfying tonally. Pros, okay. Amazing imaging with slight toe-in. Great at all volumes. Low volume, medium volume, high volume, doesn't matter. They sound great no matter what. Beautiful in the white oak, as you can see on the screen above me. I mean, that's a good looking speaker. Maybe that's personal, but I think it just looks so good. And the mid-range texture I listed as a pro as well, because it was damn good, not just for its price, even compared to more expensive speakers that I have. Cons, the vinyl finish looks and feels cheap. There's like no way around that. It is one of the cheapest looking vinyl finishes I have laid my eyes on. Big disappointment there. I felt like for the price, it really could have been nicer. And I do understand that, you know, there was a tight budget making this speaker, and Andrew Jones wanted to make it sound as good as humanly possible, and he nailed it. He did. I love the sound. But the problem I have is there are cheaper speakers that have better vinyl finishes, like the Polk S15. The vinyl finish on that looks so good. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't feel cheap. This looks and feels cheap. It's not tricking anyone. I think they could have chosen maybe like a better grain or something. Anyways, let's move on. Could have more bass for its size is another con I listed. And the final con, this is just my personal opinion, but I think in contrast, the black walnut is hideous compared to the white. The white is beautiful and the black walnut, hideous, especially with the gray grill. And again, in contrast, the gray grill on the white oak, beautiful. The gray on the black walnut, she's just ugly. There's just no other way I can say it, guys. All right, so that wraps it up for the note cards. At the end of the day, let me give you my personal opinion here. Absolutely love these. This is exactly the kind of sound I like. It's the perfect amount of treble. The mid-range was textured nicely. The bass, there wasn't a whole lot of it, but that's okay. I'm a subwoofer user. I could augment that. The only thing I didn't like in this sound signature is I don't like mid-bass bloat. That slight edge in the mid-bass. I know a lot of people like that, so that's not like a knock against the speaker. Personally, I just don't care about that like 60 hertz region. Like, we could just cut that out. I wouldn't mind, right? In fact, when other of my friends that like are into audio come to my house, they always say like, where's the tactile bass? It's missing, you know? And it's because I don't like it, so I kind of tune it out, I guess, subconsciously. I like the speaker a lot. I really do. I think it's great. I will say, if you're planning to get it and use it in 2-channel mode only without a subwoofer, I don't know if I would recommend that. I would at least add an 8-inch subwoofer. I use these with 3 different subwoofers. I use the SB3000, which for some reason, the combination of these speakers, the SVS SB3000 in my room, took a lot of adjustment to get right. I tried the Rel HT1205, which sounded great. And then I also tried the Emotiva SE12, which sounded good when not pushed. Let's see if there's anything else I want to get into before I wrap this up. They are front ported and the grills are magnetic. I think that's it, guys. At the end of the day, I love these. I'm going to try to buy them off my friend. Honestly, that's how much I love them. I just wish they were the white oak because they look so much better. If you love imaging, if you love the vocal presentation, you want that locked in vocalist type experience, and you have the luxury of having that center seated position and that perfect triangle, these will reward the hell out of you. Off axis, they're good too, but like almost any speaker, off axis imaging is going to fall apart, especially the center vocalist being locked in and things like that. Also, while I didn't talk about the soundstage is big. It did extend beyond the left and right boundaries. And just from top to bottom, great speaker minus the weak bass and the lower frequencies. So I'm going to stop here, guys. If you have any questions, ask in the comments below. And until next time, later.